Little baby Evelyn, a blue-eyed, blonde-haired bundle of absolute joy, was born in Tennessee. Her dad was in the military and didn't have a relationship with her mom, Megan Boswell. So Megan was a 17-year-old single mother. But she seemingly had some help. Evelyn and Megan lived on the Boswell family compound with Evelyn's grandparents, Tommy and Angela, and Evelyn's uncle, Tommy Jr. At some point in December of 2019, Evelyn went missing, but no one reported her gone until February of 2020. It was her grandpa, Tommy Boswell, who called police, not her mother. When the investigation began, Megan's story allegedly changed and turned out to be false. She reportedly said Evelyn was with Grandma Angela and her boyfriend. Megan was arrested for providing false information. Then, Evelyn's body was found on the family compound in Megan's old playhouse. She was placed upside down in a trash can and died. Prosecutors believe Megan is the one who did it and have charged her with the murder of this little angel. Today in court, the jury was shown Megan's police interview, and tonight we will show it to you as our in-depth coverage of the murder of baby Evelyn continues. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. As we cover this trial, I am having a case of deja vu because it reminds me so much of another case. In fact, it was one of the biggest trials I've ever covered back in Central Florida. And when you think about these two beautiful little girls, Evelyn Boswell and little Kaylee Marie Anthony, two little girls who never had a chance to grow up. Two little girls who were growing up with a single mom, and two little girls who went missing or were reported missing, but not initially, reported missing a month and a half for little baby Evelyn, 31 days for Kaylee Marie. Then we learned that Kaylee Marie was never missing because her mother knew she was dead and just went on with her life for 31 days. As I mentioned, both had young mothers. Megan Boswell and the other one, both super young. The father of their children wasn't really there day to day in their lives, and they had to lean on their parents a little bit and their family and to try to get the support that they needed. But both of these mothers absolutely failed. Regardless of whether you think they're guilty or not guilty, they failed their children. They absolutely did. No doubt. And it seems from what we're learning that in both cases, your child isn't there or something happened to your child and you say nothing and you do nothing. That's what we're talking about right here. And that's a failure. And I think that's why these two cases tug at the heartstrings of everyone, especially anyone who has ever been a parent. Anyone who has any sort of parental gene running through their body. When you bring life into the world and you bring a child into the world, that's the most important thing in your world. And you do anything and everything to protect them. You do anything and everything to try to keep them from harm. And if something happens, you act immediately. And you get as much help as you can. You don't just ignore it. Now, these two have something else in common. They're both big liars. Big, big liars. They've gotten caught in lies. And even though Megan Boswell's trial is ongoing, we know that she lied because she's telling different stories. So they all can't be true. But the one next to Megan, the queen of the liars. She could change on a dime and come up with something like that. So I think her lie is a little more sophisticated than Megan's, but still both big, big liars. And at the trial of the other one down in Florida, Everyone knew that she lied. She got convicted of some of those lies, for some of those lies, by the jury. And they knew she was a liar. And they knew that she was lying about a lot of things, including what happened to her daughter. But we know how that one turned out. So in this trial, this jury's going to know that Megan Boswell is a liar. Because there's all these different stories that she's telling at different times to different people, sometimes to the same people. But that's the question as this case progresses. Yeah, you've got the lies, but is there enough evidence to prove that this mother murdered this little angel? That's the question. So we've got her interviews, a couple of interviews she did with police, shown to the jury today. So we get to see and hear her speak and tell some stories. So I want to go through that with you tonight, but I need some help. Joining me, body language expert, human behavior expert, and author Susan Constantine, who knows all about that other woman, because when I covered that years ago, we were together doing that, night in and night out. So let's begin. So what I want to do is take a look at some pieces of her interview and then have you give me some analysis of what you're seeing and what you're hearing from, again, this very young mother, who at this point there's a missing child, right? So let's take a listen. This first interview is from February 18th.
Ethan does not have the baby.
But I don't know where she's at since he had her last.
He has not seen that baby since he was down here for Christmas.
He has seen her. I promise you, yeah.
And he went back where is he at?
Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Are you sure he didn't take her with him?
I'm positive.
Well, then I don't know where he is there.
Does that not concern you?
I mean, yeah, but like, you all don't know at all where she is?
No.
Well, what can we do?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Can you put on Amberlin or something?
When is the last time you've seen her?
I guess more than a couple weeks ago. It was around January.
Well, he went back. Let's go back. January the 1st. And he did not take her with him.
Well, then I don't know. I really don't like. What do you do when your child's missing?
And you told us you were going to meet him tomorrow in Colonial Heights. No. What was that about?
I was going to try to contact him again and meet me.
You said he lived in Memorial Boulevard.
That's where the last time that I went to go see her was.
How was you going to contact him and said that you didn't have a phone number?
I was going to try to message him from Hunter's cell, get a hold of him.
I don't know where this baby is, but it's got to be found.
So what happens if we don't find her, not?
I don't know. I've never run into this in my 20 years here. But we've got to find her. And Ethan doesn't have her. You don't have her. Where did this baby go?
I don't know.
Okay, Susan, so she's mentioning Ethan, which is Evelyn's father, but he's in the military. He's gone January 1st. So what are you seeing? What are you hearing from Megan Boswell here?
Well, first of all, I look at things a little bit differently, so I'm going to walk you through three things. One of them is I'm listening to the tone, the volume, and the pitch. So I'm looking for anything that seems to be off a baseline, and I understand exactly what emotions that are attached to specific types of voice tone. So when you hear her edgy, she's very edgy with her tone, that's anger, okay? There's another point too where her pitch drops. And when I can't remember the question was asked for, but what I'm looking for is that was a change in her baseline. So we've got the edge, and then all of a sudden there's a pitch drop. And the pitch drop, you tie it to content, and that was a very important point because that's where deception was. When a person's voice tone drops, notice when it's off baseline, there's oftentimes deception. The other part of that is look at her body language. That's the other piece to it, right? She doesn't really make eye contact, even though eye contact is not a part of deception. But on the other hand, she is not helping the police officer figure out what's going on. She's not helping at all. So she's not giving any additional information. She has closed down, and she's also in a very guarded position, not making eye contact. There's no sense of remorse or sadness in her forehead. There's no sense of urgency in her body language or even urgency in her tone. And then she pops one in there. Hey, why don't you consider, are you going to call an Amber Alert? That was just what we call a filler, right? She would just put that in there, inject it in there because it really sounded good. But when you looked at her head shake, she was doing those little head nods. That's leakages. That wasn't a yes, I want you to do that. This was one of those, I'm really kind of apprehensive whether I want you to do it or not. So it was inconsistent with a true, yes, I want you to do it. So there were multiple things across three specific channels that I was looking at and clustered together in 7 seconds or less from when she's asked a question, deception, deception, deception.
Wow. Well, we've got an interview now. This is a week later from February 25th. And in this one, it seems like she's now admitting that the first story was a lie. So you're right on here. Let's take a listen.
What do you remember about that day? Did you wake up or what happened?
I don't know. I rolled over on her. I don't think I did. I think she did it. It was an accident.
He was sleeping in the bed with you? Was the three of y'all together? In the bed?
Between us.
Okay.
I should have put her just on the side. I love that there was never not of her life before that, and I never once rolled over on her.
But when you woke up, she wasn't breathing. Is that what you're telling us?
Her head was buried in her pillow, and she wasn't breathing.
How long did you hold her?
For a long time.
All day?
I didn't want to let her go.
How did you know she was dead?
Because she wasn't breathing, her eyes were open.
Her eyes were open?
She wasn't breathing. I tried to give her CPR, but she was already gone.
How did you try to give her CPR?
From mouth to mouth.
What else?
That's it. I just held her leg.
Did she gag or anything while you were trying to give CPR to her?
No.
How did she feel?
What do you mean?
Was she cold?
No.
She still warm? What about the color?
She was still
Was she blue?
No, not really.
What did she look like?
Just like her. As the day went on, she got colder and put up there in the blanket because I didn't want her to cold.
And you don't remember what day that was?
No. I know it sounds bad.
You're telling me all these other stories that you told me. All those before, those were lies. This is the truth.
This is the God's truth.
Okay, that timeline, all the dates that you gave, all that stuff prior, all that stuff was made up. And why do you want to come clean now? What benefit do you have
I don't, but he talked to me, to be honest with me.
Is it for me or is it for your baby?
For my baby, but you're the one who were like, hey, like, it's been going on long enough, you know what I'm saying?
And it's time to put an end to it.
Okay, Susan, this is very significant because this is some sort of an admission, but it's an admission to an accident in a case where she's charged with murder. So what are you seeing and hearing here? She appears much different.
Yes, she is, because when the pitch, when we talk about, it goes up, right? That's fear. When she's feeling fearful, you can see it. You can actually see her body becomes more tense and she's sitting straight up. So what do you do when you're fearful? You're at attention, and that's what she's doing right here. So the body is telling us how she's actually feeling, and her tone is too. She also says, I don't think. Remove the don't, and you could just say, I think, or whatever. You know, you could look at that just admission to she's downplaying what she's proposing could have happened. The other thing is, what I really kind of tied into when she was holding the baby and she was asked about the color of the baby or how she felt. Was she warm? And the body at that time was warm and she wasn't blue. So that's telling me that somewhere close to that time frame, the baby, she wasn't dead very long, because it was not long enough to where the child's lips were blue or becoming stiff or what have you. The other thing is that what I'm looking at is that she's also saying, you know, the God's honest truth. And anytime somebody invokes religion, you know, I swear to God, I promise, I swear on a holy Bible, God's my witness, whatever, that's also a point of interest. Again, what I'm looking at, we're seeing again clusters. I keep going back to, I'm looking at clusters. So I listen to what she's saying and the content of how she's saying it, but then I'm also looking at what we know as our indicators proven with deception scientifically, not subjectively, scientifically. She hits all the marks. So you've got it both in her voice again, in her body. You've got it in her language, which is called CBCA, which is also statement analysis. You hear the tone in her voice, which is fear. The standing straight up, which is tension. Tension is in the body. That's associated with deception. So you start to cluster these things together. And it's just like I was training 110 police officers yesterday, teaching them how to do a scan analysis and showing them how to detect deception. And when you start tying those pins together, points of interest, within 7 seconds of a question, bam, 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 you know there's deception there. So I have to tell you, again, deception, deception, deception.
I want to show you one more piece. Now we go back to, this goes back to the first interview, and this is important because it's talking about whether or not she is hitting little Evelyn. Let's take a listen.
Do you want a description of her? Do you want me to try to find pictures of her? Yeah, we'll need a description of her. I'm worried about, too, the broke arm. I don't think she ever took her to the hospital and found out it was broke, though. I just know it was bruised. And that's all I know. I mean, I won't lie to you, when she was with me, there were a couple times that when she was trying to walk, she would like fall and bruise her cheek, you know what I'm saying? But like, she was never bruised, I never whipped her. Like, I can't whip a kid. You know what I mean? I know some people disagree with that, but I mean, I just can't. I mean, I was gonna fall when they... Well, yeah, but I mean, whenever that happened also, my dad was like, Mom would call and say that you abused her because she had a bruise on her cheek. And I was like, you can't do that, like, because for one, like, I never hit that baby, ever. And I wouldn't, you know, because when kids are bad, like, you know, bad, I believe, like, oh, you should take a toy away from them or something, like. But like I said, a lot of people disagree with that, but you should spank the kids. I'm not one of those people.
Okay, Susan, what do you think
lots of
about
stuff.
this?
First of all, she's giving us a lot more information we need to hear. So anytime somebody's adding to the story, trying to build her storyline, that is also something we pay attention to. The other thing is that her attitude is very indignant. How dare you ask me that? You know, she's got this very attitude, chip on her shoulder kind of thing. She also uses a lot of what we call minimizing techniques. And she's also highly defensive. So the minimizing is, it's like, well, I didn't hit, but you know, she's had bruises. And then she starts to give you possibilities or probabilities why she could have been bruised. These are all minimizing techniques. And also, again, we saw the throwing the religion in there again. So, and listen, I'm a believer, but I swear to God, it's not generally something I would say. You would just tell the truth. So the fact that she's doing that really gives me a question. And also there's these really big kind of shoulder shrugs, like she really doesn't know, which kind of contradicts what she's saying. That's showing a lack of uncertainty, that she's not confident with what she's saying, coupled with the fact that she's defensive, she's indignant, she's minimizing. And she also refers to the baby as, I believe it was that baby or the baby, which is already distancing. So when you're distancing from a loved one, especially a child, that child, the kid, and they don't say my daughter, saying their first name, my child, that is a huge indicator that relationship had already deteriorated and she had absolutely no emotional connection to the baby whatsoever.
Wow. Okay. I told you she was a big liar, folks. All right, Susan Constantine is going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to take a look at baby Evelyn's grandfather who took the stand today. Really important testimony. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates another big day in the Karen Reed case as the defense gets a rare win in a crucial ruling by the judge as both sides get ready for the epic rematch in court this spring on Court TV.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
A 15-month-old Evelyn Boswell found dead on her family's compound.
This case is unlike anything I've ever been involved in.
Her own teenage mother charged with little Evelyn's murder.
She and Evelyn are living in this trailer by themselves out on Sugar Hollow. Is that right?
Yes, we go. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. If you need a minute, let us know. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Did you ever go out and see Megan and Evelyn when they lived there at the trailer?
A few times.
Okay. Did you see the condition of the trailer, what it looked like?
Most of the time I'd stay outside. She'd come outside to be pretty because I look around, pick up garbage and stuff.
Okay. So
but a couple of times I went in, but not that much.
Okay. Did she have Evelyn with her?
Yeah.
When you were out there? Okay.
That's little baby Evelyn's grandfather, Tommy Boswell. You remember the backstory here. He's the one who was asking, where's Evelyn, where's Evelyn? Then finally, he's the one who makes the call and gets everything rolling in this case. It wasn't Megan Boswell who called 911 or called police. It was Tommy Boswell who alerted authorities about what was going on here. Much like in that other case when Kaylee Marie wasn't there, it was the grandparents who had to pick up the phone and make the call. And then we know what happened at trial. They pointed the finger at Grandpa. That may be happening here as well. Still with me, body language expert Susan Constantine. Susan, so I want to do the same thing here as we take a look at the testimony of Tommy Boswell, because I believe the defense will be going after him and did go after him to a certain extent, much like we saw down in Orlando years ago when it was Grandpa who was the target of the defense. So let's take a listen now to Tommy Boswell recounting his conversations with his daughter.
She said Ethan was the father, and he wanted to see Evelyn. He'd been in the Army. So I said, I'm going to stand back. If he's going to man up and want to see his child, I'm going to let him see her for a while. Then after a while, I said, enough's enough. It's my turn.
Did you see Megan after Christmas?
Here or there, very rarely.
I'm sorry.
Just here or there, not that much.
Here or there, okay. Did you see Evelyn?
No, last time I seen Evelyn was on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Did you ever, in those times that you saw Megan after Christmas, did you ever ask her, hey?
Yes, I asked her numerous times.
Okay. And what did she tell you?
She kept coming up different stories and different lies.
Okay. Well, what was she telling you?
First, it was Ethan had her. First, let me back up, I'm sorry. Hunter's mom was watching her. And then she come off with Ethan had her. And after it went on for a while, I said, I'm going to do something about this. Well, she told me that Ethan wouldn't give her back. I said, hey, let's go get an attorney. I said, he can see his daughter, but he's not taking her.
Okay. What did she say when you told her that?
I can't remember exact words. She said, Dad, give me a day or two or something. She said, I'll get her something. And just lie after lie.
Okay. Any point in time did you ever see Evelyn?
No. Last time I seen her was on Thanksgiving, sir.
It's amazing because it was George Anthony who was the most emotional one. I remember at the trial, right? It was him.
Yep.
And
we were both there. We saw it.
Yeah. And here's Tommy Boswell now showing some emotion on the stand as well. The grandfather of this baby who is now, we know, dead, but at the time was missing, was somewhere. What did you think of his testimony that we saw that part?
Well, he shows all of his facial expressions. He's very emotive, so it's very easy to pinpoint what he's actually feeling. You can see the amount of stress that he's feeling with the horizontal lines in his forehead. He's also looking at the jury because he wants to make a point that they hear what he's saying with his eyebrows raised up, trying to make a strong point. And also, too, his eyes are frozen. When he's talking, when he's doing that, he is like in high concentration. He wants you to understand what's going on, and then the eye blink lowers. That's a good sign. The other thing is that he has a lot of what we call emotional turbulence that's going on. When I kind of leaned up forward because I wanted to look at, because I could see the trembling, the actual trembling in his shoulders and his body. This is causing a physiological response from head to toe. He's not in fight or flight. This is a person that has been traumatized, and he is all of his emotion and his tension, everything is like in high alert. So he's telling the truth. I'd be the first one to stand up and say he is not lying. There's nothing about his testimony that is giving me anything that is outside of being truthful. It's all truthful. He's a very caring and loving grandfather. He's concerned, and he's asking all the right questions because all the red flags were flying high, and he wanted answers, and he knew something wasn't right, and he sensed it right down to the core of his bones, down to the marrow. He knew something wasn't right, and he called it out right. She's just a liar. So everything was in sync. When you look at this was the first time I've actually seen him, but it was a really quite easy slam dunk truthfulness response.
All right, this is another important moment in his conversations with his daughter Megan about his granddaughter Evelyn. Let's take a listen to this part of the testimony.
At some point, did you make an ultimatum to Megan about seeing your granddaughter?
Yeah, I told her and I told her mom.
Okay. What did you tell her?
It was on a weekend. Oh, excuse me. I said, come Monday morning, which I told this to her mom. I said, come high hell water. I said, I'm going to get on the phone. I said, I'm going to find my granddaughter. I said, I don't care what I got to do. I said, I want to know what's going on. I said, enough's enough. And that's when I got on the phone and made the phone call.
All right.
That Monday morning.
All right.
Continuing with the same sort of clues?
Yeah, and he's very serious about it too. You could see that he was going to get down to the bottom of it. When you see his eyes freeze like that, and his eyes are wide open, that is strong, convincing. I am going to do, come hell or high water, I'm going to figure it out. And you could see that all over his facial expression, and of course the worry lines. I mean, he was very concerned, and you put that with his words, so it's in context, and his baseline is consistent throughout, which is telling me that there is no red flags, because I look at 3 different areas. Does it make sense? Is it contradicting his baseline? Is it meeting all the criteria for the context of what he's saying? Is there anything out of disjointed? And the answer is no. So, truthfulness.
Now, the final piece I want to show you is cross-examination. And as I said, it seems the defense is going to point the finger in some way at Tommy Boswell, Evelyn's grandfather. Let's see what happens here.
You talked about a day that you saw Megan backed up to that yard barn with her trunk open.
Yes, sir.
Did you talk to her today?
No, I was in a hurry. My boy, I think, had a seizure or something going on, and I had to get back up the hill to take care of him. But as I drove by, I seen her car backed up to that building with the door that rolled up and the trunk open, but I never seen her.
You didn't see her, just the car?
Just the car. Ashley's talking about the phone. They come and got the phone, and then me and Ashley kept talking. I said, what about that stuff Megan put down there in Dad's building? So she called them back. They come back, went down there, and as I was leaving, I said, oh, there's the playhouse Dad had built for her, too.
But just to be clear, you didn't see Megan put anything in the building. You saw her car.
I just seen her car.
Not
and
Megan.
The trunk was raised. I didn't see nobody.
When did you start to suspect the child could be on your property?
I didn't suspect the child was on my property.
Well, why did you call him to come down to the yard barn?
To see if there was a clue in that stuff she put in the building. Because I worked right hand in hand with the law enforcement that tried to help them every way I could.
When's the last time you were in that dollhouse?
I couldn't tell you, sir.
That's the most important part of the question, because that's where baby Evelyn is found, in that dollhouse, and he's the one who calls them to come down and search. So what did you see there at the end of that
At the very end?
testimony? Yeah.
He was surprised, like, I have no idea. So that was giving you a surprise response. And the other thing, if you notice, I'll be real quick with this, every illustrator, hand movement, gesture was very illustrative, exactly what happened, and he was helping the attorney understand every single move he made, and everything told the same story. His hand gestures, his body language, his voice, his tone was all perfectly modulated together like a perfect dance.
Susan Constantine, great insight. Appreciate your very valuable time. We'll see you again really soon. Great to see you. Okay, when we come back, we'll bring in another expert as we go back to the scene of the crime.
Tommy Boswell is the defendant's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Megan's father and Evelyn's grandfather.
All right. As a result of the phone call that you received from Mr. Boswell, what did you all do next?
We went to Mr. Boswell property located on Muddy Creek to conduct a search there. This top house here is Tommy Boswell's, as it was described to us. This resident here was a mobile home that was described as his mother's. This is the shed that we had information on right there. That's like a yard barn or an outbuilding. And then here is notated as what we described and what was described as a playhouse.
And it was inside that playhouse where baby Evelyn was found, inside a trash can with her feet sticking up, covered in tinfoil. A gruesome scene. What I want to do is take a look at that testimony and take a look at some of the images from the search. Because at the top of the show, I said, okay, they can prove that she's a liar, but can they prove the entire case? What sort of evidence can they get from the scene? What can it prove? What story does it tell? Let's take a look.
What was found there were multiple boxes of belongings of Megan Boswell that contained a variety of items specific to a young child. I recall there were clothing items, diapers, medicines, toys, those kind of things were the most common thing in those boxes.
And the door, as we're looking at it, that door was closed when you arrived.
Yes, sir. That's how we found it.
Next, I'm going to show you Exhibit 11.
Same playhouse with the door open. And if you look inside the door right here, this white trash can is the trash can that I was describing as I was reviewing the photographs. Again, just another photograph of the trash can and the two bags. There's a keyboard there, a piece of furniture, again, the blue tote. Just multiple pictures of kind of like the same thing, same angle, same point of view, just multiple pictures of that. After this was, that black trash bag portion had been pulled away, this was the next layer down inside the trash can, which contained Evelyn Boswell's body, clothed in a pink fleece onesie with penguins and a gray and white fleece blanket. The portion of the body that you see there is her leg. In the picture, it shows the body of Evelyn Boswell that's underneath these layers of items. That includes aluminum foil and the gray and white fleece blanket. You can also see some portion of the clothing. Evelyn was wearing the pink onesie fleece with the penguins. The next photograph is an opening of the trash bag that Evelyn was inside of, that shows different items in the bottom of that trash bag, eggshells, fluids of human decomposition. The next photograph is again the same trash bag with the contents that I just described, with the body of Evelyn to the right of that. That's going to be her head and upper portion of her body that's wrapped in this aluminum foil.
And this is one difference between this case and the case of Kaylee Marie Anthony down in Florida. The remains there were bones, skeletal. Here, there seems to be much, much more. Joining me, retired police officer after 2 decades, an expert at analyzing crime scenes, now trains investigators. Dr. Mike McCutcheon back with us. Great to see you. Approaching a scene like this, where you are discovering a body, what are the challenges? What are the protocols? How do you get to that child and still preserve as much of the evidence around there that you can?
That's a great question. Thanks for having me. This case, again, as you say, a lot of the similarities to the Southern Florida case. But with this one, the body is going to be very important for evidence. So when the police are there, I didn't get an understanding of whether they were specifically thinking that the body was going to be in there, because a lot of times what happens, and I'm sure it happened in this case, is they're looking for evidence, which is normal, and then they come upon the body and you're like, oh no, okay, I got to make sure that I didn't, like, exactly where did I walk, where did I, what did I touch, what did I move, and whether or not they were documenting, and that's going to be a big piece here, is the documentation to get to that crime scene. Because the first thing we're going to do is, once we make sure the scene's safe and we give any medical care, and those are the first 2 things you do. That's not a question here, but now it's to preserve that crime scene. So now we are preserving that crime scene. My expectation would be that while they're looking, they're not wearing their proper protective gear or whatnot, because they're not expecting to find what they're expecting. Again, I don't, and I could be wrong here, but I didn't see any indication that that was the case, where they're wearing, again, every contact leaves a trace. And so you're protecting the scene from you as an investigator, and the obviously to make sure you're not contaminating or cross-contaminating any evidence. So that certainly could be an issue that comes up. Again, I think that, from what I've seen, that there's enough evidence here, but that is certainly something that they have to now back out and set a nice perimeter around that to safeguard anybody coming and going.
And as we saw, as we looked at the pictures from inside, there was a lot of junk, and it seemed like parts of it were covered with cobwebs, and then there were parts that weren't covered with cobwebs. And I would think that would be very, very significant in trying to figure out the story that's being told inside there.
So in the earlier segment, we talked about body language and the baseline. You always set your baseline, and that's the same here. If you see where something's been moved or a void in dirt, something that's different, that's not the baseline. You see lots of cobwebs and there's an area that's not. That's certainly going to draw you to that. If there's lots of dirt and now there's tracks in the dirt there, that's going to draw you to that. Something that's very unique about this crime scene is when somebody needs to dispose of a body, how they dispose of it is very important, because if it's done with care. So her story is, she accidentally died, I got nervous, and so I didn't know what to do. That sums up very briefly what she's saying. But she didn't give any care on how she put her baby to rest. If we were to believe that, one of the things I wrote down, because I thought it was really significant, she's in a trash bag that has eggshells in it, like it was just a trash bag that you were using for other things. And so the baby was disposed of as garbage. And I think that's really significant, instead of, yes, this happened, but I buried her in the back with her favorite toy or something like that. It was, I put her in a trash bag with some other
Just discarded her. Dr. Mike McCutcheon, we're out of time for tonight, but we're going to bring you back because this case is continuing and we're learning more and more. Thank you so much.